On Sunday, we had the Spanish Grand Prix in Formula One. It was a really entertaining race. There was a lot of drama. Early on, right at the beginning, Kevin Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton made contact with each other. They had to pit. They found themselves in dead last at the back of the pack. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, recovered. He got all the way back up to finishing P5. And one driver of the day, well-deserving for Lewis Hamilton. Fun storyline. I love that. Great drama, really interesting and fun to watch him climb back up. Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen both spun out in succession on turn 4. 2 laps apart. Carlos Sainz spun out lap 7. Max Verstappen spun out on lap 9. That really hampered their race. It gave, Charles Leclerc pulled way ahead. He was like 11 seconds ahead of everyone else. He had a massive, comfortable lead. Carlos Sainz should have won this race in Spain easily. We also, by the way, got this amazing battle. On lap 24 was really the peak of the battle where Max Verstappen and George Russell, George Russell was in second, Max in third. They were wheel-to-wheel racing, battling. George defending Max. He couldn't get his DRS flap open. So, Max, the drama was heightened because of that. They were battling for second place. It was intense. It was super fun. I think it's the first time I've ever really seen a true great battle between Max and George, and I hope we get that for years to come. Like, wow, great racing, really fun. I always knew George was a good driver, but I'm really enjoying watching him in a Mercedes prove himself every single week. Then suddenly the race took a turn. Charles Leclerc, the Ferrari driver, lap 27, lost power and had to retire. Shocking, out of nowhere. It was brutal. He had a massive lead. Charles Leclerc should have won this race easily by a lot. And unfortunately, that result suddenly put Max Verstappen and George Russell in a battle for the lead of the race. I mean, Charles Leclerc, he had victory yanked out of his hands in such a sad way. And in all, here's how things turned out. Here are the way the race played out. Max Verstappen got first and won the race. Sergio Perez came in second. He also got fastest lap. To round out the podium, George Russell, the Mercedes driver, got third place. Carlos Sainz got fourth. Lewis Hamilton got fifth. And after starting dead last, P20 in his home race, Fernando Alonso moved all the way up the pack, 11 grid spots to finish P9. And good for him. He recovered well from the bad, starting at the back. And I'm really, really happy for Fernando Alonso. Red Bull got maximum points on the day for them. And I want to just take a moment to really appreciate Sergio Perez, the true number 2 driver for Red Bull. He had the lead, and he gave it up to Max without any kind of a fight. And Max Verstappen is the leading man. He is the world champion. He gets all the glory for Red Bull. Let's acknowledge, though, you have to, Sergio Perez has done a ton in the last year and 6 races to help Max Verstappen and help Max Verstappen become, frankly, a world champion. He wouldn't be one without the efforts of Sergio Perez helping him along the way, defending off Lewis Hamilton last year, letting him pass. I mean, in Formula One, especially last year, the year that Max won his world title, the margins are and were so small. You have to acknowledge, Sergio Perez has played a critical role in the success that Max Verstappen has had in the last year and 6 races for Red Bull. And honestly, also before Sergio Perez came to Red Bull with Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon, he wasn't getting the support he needed. Sergio Perez needs to be given respect. Max wouldn't be world champion without Sergio Perez's help. They're a team. Sergio Perez plays a valuable part and a valuable role in Max succeeding. He's a great teammate. He deserves a ton of recognition, and a round of applause for Sergio Perez, the number 2 driver for Red Bull, who doesn't get the love and recognition he deserves, in my opinion. Max gets all the glory. Sergio Perez does a lot of dirty work to help Max win and help Max succeed, and I just think that I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that it's unfair. All I'm saying is let's acknowledge it, right? And that's all we should do. By the way, people hate when I say this. I think it's fun that people get mad at me because technically it's true. Max Verstappen has won every race he has finished this year. He's won 4 races. He's 5 for 5, actually, if you include the sprint race. It's hilarious. People get mad at me for that. I love it. I think it's funny. Technically, it's true. Now, he's needed luck to do that. If Charles Leclerc hadn't had power failure, he would have won this race in Spain. But kind of funny to me that Max, 4 for 4, won all 4 races that he hasn't had to retire from this year in 2022. Here are the drivers' standings after Spain. In first, you got Max Verstappen with 110 points for Red Bull. Then second, you got Charles Leclerc with 104 points. In third is Sergio Perez with 85 points. Fourth is George Russell with 74 points. Fifth is Carlos Sainz with 65 points. And sixth in Formula One, the driver's standings, you got Lewis Hamilton with 46 points. In the team or constructor standings, Red Bull is in first with 195 points. Battling them for first is Ferrari with 169 points. Firmly in third, Mercedes has 120 points. They're not really in striking distance necessarily of first. They're also way ahead of the fourth-ranked team, McLaren. Although if the top 2 struggle, they've had reliability problems, whatever, Mercedes appears to be making better. There's a lot of races ahead. It's 16 races left in the Formula One season. So Mercedes certainly is not out of the running. It could make a late charge to push the other 2 teams at the top. But they've got to start getting it in gear. And in fourth place in Formula One right now, McLaren has 50 points. Fifth is Alfa Romeo with 39 points. And sixth is Alpine with 34 points. Shout out to Lando Norris. He got P8 while he was sick and had tonsillitis. Good for him. P8 in that scenario, really hard. And Daniel Ricciardo is looking worse and worse. Their number 2 driver in McLaren, he just doesn't have the pace of Lando Norris, who beat him easily, even with a lot of bodily function problems. By the way, Charles Leclerc's engine failure has been learned that it was the power unit. And there are 16 races left. He only has 2 power units left he can use. You get 3 during a season. If you have to use a 4th, you have to have a grid penalty. By the way, he was already using... he was already on his second set of power unit components. Part of the... How do I put this? He was on a second set of power unit parts, and basically, he's only got 1 fresh power unit left for the rest of the year. He's got 1 fresh one and 1 that's got partially used components. So to have 16 races left and be expected to use only 1 more fresh power unit and then another one that's lightly used, I think at some point Charles Leclerc is going to have to use a 4th power unit this year, and it's going to hurt him. It's already becoming... Someone sent me a message earlier today. They're like, look, this year is quickly becoming a year of what ifs for Ferrari, where they have had a lot of good opportunities, a lot of good pace, and it's really getting concerning that they're not going to be able to win, and they're going to always look back and go, man, we had a really great car, and we underachieved in 2022. Next weekend is Charles Leclerc's home race at Monaco, which mostly comes down to qualifying. It's pretty and fun to look at. It's a big event, but there's not a lot of overtakes. It's not actually great driving, and I'm really curious to see how things play out. All in all, though, Red Bull's now got a firm lead, and Ferrari's now got a firm lead in Formula One. And Charles Leclerc and Ferrari took a massive hit this past weekend in Spain. And we'll see how the year goes, because it's been a fun battle so far. 6 races in, been a blast. There's a possibility that Max wins his second back-to-back world championship, which would be shocking. I mean, they've had reliability problems. Max Verstappen was screaming. He was so angry when his DRS flap wouldn't open. And I think, frankly, his anger hurt him a little bit and got in the way of him being successful. And he's got to manage those emotions. But to see Max maybe win a second world title is something I didn't expect. And all I'm hoping for is a good battle between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, and a good battle between Red Bull and Ferrari. And we'll see how things play out the rest of the year in Formula One.